Hey everybody, and happy July. I'm getting this out a week late because things just happen around life. And for those of you watching on YouTube, yes, I am filming in my car. Today is a day of doctor's appointments for the baby. And so I had about 30 minutes of downtime, which I figured would be excellent recording time. This topic for the second of the month podcast is going to be talking about the ADA here in the United States, how that little bit of information about that and what Disability Pride Month is, which I've been doing some research this year to kind of know a little bit more, and am excited to share with you my findings. So hope you guys are ready. Welcome to the CRAB podcast. Here at Children Raised Around the Blind, we have two goals. Our first goal is to help those living with the blind to understand them better and to help children through the difficulties that come from living with a blind parent. Secondly, we want to spread awareness of the blind community. Here on the podcast, we will share the things that blind people can do and ways the sighted world can include them in everyday life. Join us twice a month to learn about the visually impaired community. Okay, everybody, welcome to the podcast. Like I said earlier, we are going to be discussing Disability Pride Month. So I've heard about it a couple years ago and was kind of not all that interested, but just because of the name, honestly. And it just, what is it? How is it? A lot of people post a lot of stuff. So the more though I researched, I realized, you know what, this is actually a pretty good thing. So July is actually called Disability Pride Month. And the reason for that is um, the purpose of the month is just to talk about disabilities, not just blindness, but across the board, to have a platform to discuss what it is like to be someone who has a disability and to talk about ways they're overcoming that, ways they're advocating for themselves to make the outside world understand some of the issues and to know that, yes, here in the United States, we have what's called the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, and that will celebrate its 33rd year here at the end of the week on the 28th of July. But as much as it's great and it took, decades for us to get to that point, we're not done. We are not finished. There is always more work, especially now with technology and, accessibility features that you would think, oh, yeah, we got everything covered. We're good. No, we're moving so fast right now that sometimes we're missing some of the basic things. I even think about some of the wheelchair accessible things that, yeah, you have to have a ramp and your doors have to be able to do certain things, but there's still a lot of handicap accessibility for wheelchair people that is still not up to par. It is not doing what it should be doing. It is nowhere close to what we would like to see for being inclusivity. And I always view things through the lens, of visual impairment and blindness, and that's something that's overlooked frequently. It's not, I don't think, done on purpose, but it is definitely something that does not have a lot of awareness brought to it. So I ran into an article on Forbes that was came out in June. And it was just talking about, what is the role of the general public when we talk about the Disability Pride Month and what is it for? So it talks about, we're celebrating our community. It's taking pride in your identity as somebody who has a disability. A lot of times, especially if you're newer to the community, you may be ashamed, or you may say, I don't even know what I can do. Can I live on my own? Can I ever use a washer again? Can I cook? All of these questions. It's also a Disability Pride Month is a way to reflect back on the strides we've taken as a society. The disability movement started really with the civil rights movement in the 60s and 70s. But if you think about it, even if we say mid 60s, that people started really advocating for the rights of disabled people, um, including transportation. It included things like, job equality, being able to travel, being able to do so many things. And yet, um, it took till 1990 to pass a law. And that law is still, changing and growing. There's been things added since we got the internet. There's always things that need tightening, some things that may need changing. So it's not perfect. It's not complete. There's always more work to do. There's more reason to see, disabled people presented in different ways. I know there's a couple different people who are visually impaired in the fashion industry now. That's a hard industry to get into. And you say, why is that important? Well, one, they're putting braille on clothing because if you can't see what color something is, it'd be nice to know what color it is, what shade it is. Being able to shop independently, there's a lot there. There's a lot of roles being done by played and acted in Hollywood and various things. They don't go to a person with that disability and say, hey, can you play this role? No, they find somebody who is not disabled and put them in a wheelchair or give them a white cane and say, here, you're going to play this role. And that's a disservice to those in the disability community who could play that role, who are capable of helping with some of that. I mean, I used to pick so bad on a lot of shows that would portray a blind person. And I'm like, that's not how they do it. They don't just stare into the blankness or have their eyes closed all the time. Instead of reaching out to a community of blind people, an organization, and saying, hey, is there anyone who may want to learn? Or, maybe they can use that person or that organization to do their research on it. Is this possible? I mean, one show that I really liked how well they showed the truthfulness of blindness is Covert Affairs. Yes. Because the guy in there, like, he's using his computer, he's using his cane, he's walking correctly, his mannerisms, the way he's moving his body, he's acting like a normal person, not just a stick that is just staring off into the stars like, okay, I'm blind and I'm just going to pretend that like everything's really awkward. So a disability Pride Month just really has a lot to do with bringing awareness to the community, doing what we do, what I do here at Crab, what my passion is, and advocating. Where are the gaps? Let's talk about where those gaps are for each disability community. Let's talk about how that works. Let's talk about the autism community that, they need quiet spaces. They need the ability to know what's happening in advance if you're able to. You have people in wheelchairs. Well, they don't need to go to the backside of a building to get to the ramp. No, they should be able to go in the front door like everyone else. Same with the blindness community. I mean, I had to fill out another form this week for my mom because all of the medical resources, healthcare groups, whatever you want to call them, they're third parties that they use to do their, inlet information. It used to be paper patient information, but now it's all, let's do it all online. All these companies are selling these great, we're going to be really great here and streamline all of your information so your patients just go online and fill out this form. Yeah, except for those who are visually impaired, who need a screen reader, or those who, are low vision and need to use Zoom text. Yeah, it's not accessible. It doesn't work. It doesn't function. And that may be great for 70% of the population, 80% of the population, maybe, but that's not for us. And our job is to advocate for ourselves. And I know I've done some things on advocating in the past and how important that is, but what I want to end with here is, what do you do as a regular person? You say it's Disability Pride Month. I'm seeing all these posts. I see, people talking about employment. I see issues. Where does that fit me? How do I come into that? And my first thing is pay attention. I'm glad you're reading and I'm glad you're seeing. Pay attention to it. And the second one is find a way to help, whether that's getting involved in the organizations, whether that's state or national or a local chapter. Get involved in an organization that's helping a disability group or people that you feel are being underserved. Get to be part of the conversation. Be there, be part of what's going on. I think is one of the most important things. And then also look around your place, where you go, what you do, what you rub shoulders with, and find if there's ways you can advocate for those people or make those changes yourself. So my free course that I have, especially the first one on how do you just basic, how do you interact with a blind person? How do you do that? And some of the tips I give are just things, if you do this in your everyday life, it'll make it so much easier because you never know when you'll run into somebody who is blind or visually impaired. And a lot of people that you look at who actually have vision loss don't act like it. They don't walk around with a white cane. They don't have a guide dog. And you could be that person that opens up the world to them that they've never had that door open before. Things such as if you're giving directions to somebody using left and right, not, well, over there around the corner. Okay, over where around the corner? Things like paying attention where you've set up, things in the walk. Are there things in the walkway? Grocery stores are driving me crazy right now because they're putting all these little stands either off the shelf or down the middle of the aisle. Like our frozen aisle has 3 rolling racks down the middle of it. If I was trying to navigate a cart with low vision, I would be running those things over and it would be driving me crazy because I'm not anticipating turning the corner on my frozen food aisle and having something in the middle. So think about accessibility. Think about people who may not have the greatest of vision. It may look like a glob, but how far away is that glob? They may not have distance judgment. And then just be kind. If you have somebody approach you who you may not look at them, may not see a disability, or you say, well, I don't know why they're all up, in arms, take their comments personally, take them up the ladder, take them up to leadership and say, hey, I had somebody approach me with this question. What can we do? How can we help this individual or this disability group? What are ways we can do things? And I will tell you that it's a whole lot easier if you go ahead and make those changes and you start those conversations and you have those things going, because disability community has almost an underground network, and they'll tell their friends and then they'll tell their friends and then their friends will tell their friends, and you unknowingly could be doing something that you didn't even think about was needed, and it spreads. So I'll give you an example. We've been working with UGA in Athens, Georgia, about the need for dementia testing to be non-visual. Right now, 50 to 70% of the tests for memory loss, mild cognitive impairment diagnoses are visual. And I had worked with a very large hospital. I will not call them out here at this moment, but a very large hospital in Atlanta who is supposed to be one of the leading hospitals for these types of things, and went to them with my mom and was told, well, all of this stuff is, it's visual. We can do what we can for parts of it, but we can't make any adjustments. So I went up the chain of command. Like, I went to the top doctor and wrote an email, and I still have it. I'm saving it because one day it's going to come back to bite them. But right now it's just sitting there because I don't have that fight in me. And the email response back when I complained to them and told them, well, this is an ADA, you should be making it compliant. They said, well, we don't have the people or time or students to make it that way. So we're sorry, we just can't help. Well, we worked with UGA and they were able to, I think, all but 2 of the tests. So it's like 10 or 12 different things that they're testing for. Only 2 that they really truly couldn't test with mom. And some of it they did. They had to, so instead of pictures, they had tactile objects. They had things for her to touch and say, hey, what is this? Can you describe this to me? And so I know one of the things was a plastic rose. So she could say it's a flower, and they could, I don't know what all questions, I wasn't in there for it, but something that would have been, most people know what a flower feels like, or at least can make a guess. And those types of things that, yeah, they had to work a little harder. We gave them like 2.5 months, 3 months to work and figure out how to do it. Thankfully, the psychologist that we were working with, he's worked with the VA with a lot of vision loss patients before, so he had some familiarity. Wasn't all new, but those types of things, just advocating. And right now, apparently, my mom had been contacted because she mentioned it at a national convention, and that particular doctor may be getting some sort of recognition because people were shocked. Most of them in that room had been told they could not get diagnosed with any sort of memory issues because the tests were not accessible for them, because they would not take that time. So why is Disability Pride Month important? Because these are the things that need to be talked about. And if we can take a month and share the struggles and talk about what's going on, I think we can make a difference. And that's what we're here to do. One baby step. I'm not saying we're going to change the whole world. We're going to change the whole medical industry. Nothing. I'm not a big, I am a big person with big dreams, but let's start with just our local community. What is something in your community you can do? What is something your local clubs in your community can do for people who have disabilities? Maybe it's getting your hands dirty and making a ramp at a person's house. Maybe it's, including them in decisions and maybe saying, hey, this person, yeah, they're in a wheelchair, or maybe, they have some other disability, but they'd be great for city council in a local position. Open your eyes to the fact that disabled people can do life, and open your hearts to let them do and strive. And if you know somebody who's disabled and maybe they're newly disabled or they're struggling, find heroes for them. There's so many people telling their stories online and bloggers and things like that. Share those positive stories because it makes a difference. Quick story, and then I'll get off my podcast soapbox. And I got reached out to by somebody who is a friend of someone newly blind. And the newly blind lady also has a teenage daughter. And they were just saying they had no resources. They didn't know where to go, where to turn. These are the things that are going on. So I gave them some of the things that I knew, got them in contact with people above me. And they were just so thankful. Like, we want our family and this person and her family. We want to know that they can do this. They're newly blind and they don't know anybody else. That's why we're here. That's why I do this, and hope to grow this into thousands and thousands of people and followers, because we need to know that it's possible, that blind people have children, that blind people can have jobs, that they can work, that they can live a life with meaning and love every single moment of it. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, and I will talk to you later. Bye.